The massive alien vessel appeared suddenly at the edge of the solar system, catching Earth's defense systems by surprise. Its arrival triggered alarms across every space monitoring station from Luna to Mars. Scientists and military personnel scrambled to understand what was happening as strange signals flooded communication channels. Admiral Hyunji stood on the bridge of the UES Steadfast, her face illuminated by the glow of tactical displays. At 53, she had risen through military ranks during Earth's tumultuous unification wars, earning respect for her strategic brilliance and unwavering calm. Today, she needed every bit of that composure. Full defensive posture, she ordered, her voice steady despite the tension gripping her chest. But keep weapon systems cold. I want our intentions clear. Around her, crew members carried out their duties with practiced efficiency. Lieutenant Du Young, her communications officer, worked frantically to decode the alien transmissions. Admiral, the signal patterns don't match anything in our databases, Du Young reported. It's definitely artificial, but the structure doesn't follow any human language logic. Hyunji nodded. Send our standard first contact package on all frequencies. Basic math, atomic structures, simple graphics. As Earth's 5 defense vessels formed a protective screen between the alien ship and their home planet, Hyunji made the most important call of her career. Connect me to the Security Council. Within minutes, the faces of Earth's governing body appeared on her screen. Representatives from every continent looked to her for guidance. Madam President, distinguished council members, Hyunji began, we have confirmed first contact with an extraterrestrial civilization. The vessel is approximately 3 kilometers in length with unknown capabilities. They appear to be attempting communication. President Soo-jin leaned forward. Your assessment, Admiral. If they wanted to attack, they could have done so without announcing their presence. I recommend a cautious but open approach. After brief deliberation, the Council authorized a diplomatic mission. Dr. Jai-ho, Earth's foremost senolinguist, was quickly dispatched with a small team aboard the UES Messenger, a vessel specifically designed for first contact scenarios. Meanwhile, the aliens continued their approach, maintaining a respectful distance from Earth's defensive line. Their ship gleamed in the sunlight, its surface resembling polished crystal that seemed to shift and flow despite its apparent solidity. Dr. Jai-ho's team established the first meaningful contact after 72 hours of signal exchanges. Admiral, we've established basic communication, he reported excitedly. They call themselves the Luminary. They're requesting permission to send representatives to meet with us. Hyunji authorized a controlled meeting aboard the UES Steadfast. Security protocols were established, and a special receiving bay was prepared with various atmospheric conditions to accommodate unknown biological needs. When the Luminary shuttle docked, Earth's first official greeting party stood ready. Admiral Hyunji, Dr. Jai-ho, and 5 security officers waited as the airlock cycled. The beings that emerged defied expectations. Standing nearly 2 meters tall, they resembled walking crystals with faceted surfaces that caught and refracted light in mesmerizing patterns. They moved with fluid grace despite their seemingly rigid structures. Where faces might be on a human, they had clusters of luminescent points that pulsed in rhythm with their movements. Welcome to human space, Hyunji said formally. I am Admiral Hyunji of the United Earth Defense Fleet. The lead luminary's surface shimmered, and suddenly Hyunji felt a gentle presence in her mind, not invasive, but like standing near someone speaking softly. We greet you with peace, came the thought voice of the alien. I am Coordinator Lux of the Luminary Exploration Collective. Dr. Jai-ho gasped. Telepathy. They're communicating directly into our minds. Over the next several hours, through this mental link, the humans learned about their visitors. The Luminary had evolved on a world with abundant resources and few natural predators. Their society had developed without the constant pressures of competition and survival that had shaped human history. War was an abstract concept to them. something they had observed in primitive species but had never experienced themselves. We seek knowledge and understanding, Lux explained as Hyunji showed them to the conference room. Our journey spans many star systems, learning from diverse life forms. As the discussion progressed, Hyunji realized the luminary were studying the humans with increasing fascination and perhaps concern. When she mentioned the defensive fleet almost casually, the crystalline beings trembled slightly. "You maintain vessels solely for protection and combat?" Lux asked, the mental voice carrying undertones of confusion. "Of course," Hyunji replied. "The fleet defends Earth and its colonies from threats." "What threats exist between stars?" Another luminary named Spark inquired. The question gave Hyunji pause. "None we've encountered yet, but our history taught us to be prepared." The luminary delegation conferred among themselves in rapid telepathic exchanges that the humans couldn't perceive. When they turned their attention back, their crystalline forms seemed to have darkened slightly. "Would you permit us to learn more about human history?" Lux requested. Dr. Joho enthusiastically agreed, activating the room's display system to show an educational program about human civilization. As images of ancient battles, modern conflicts, and military technologies flashed across the screen, the luminaries' reactions became increasingly evident. Their crystalline bodies dimmed, and some even retreated slightly. "You fought each other?" Spark asked when the presentation reached World War I. "Throughout our history," Hyunji confirmed. "It shaped who we are today." The luminary seemed deeply troubled by this revelation. Lux turned to face Hyunji directly, crystal facets glinting under the lights. "Admiral, your species has dedicated enormous resources to developing technologies of destruction, yet you've also created art, music, and reached for the stars. This duality confuses us." Hyunji smiled slightly. "The same ingenuity that builds weapons also creates medicines. The determination that wins wars also overcomes diseases and environmental challenges. Our capacity for violence exists alongside our capacity for love and creation." As the meeting continued into the night, a deeper understanding began to form between the two species. The luminary, with their peaceful evolution and telepathic abilities, had developed technologies humans could barely comprehend. Yet they lacked the resilience and adaptability that Earth's harsh history had forged in humanity. Before returning to their ship, Lux approached Hyunji privately. "Your kind frightens us," the alien admitted, "but also fascinates us. Perhaps there is much we can learn from each other." Hyunji nodded. "Different paths, different strengths. That's what makes first contact so valuable." As the luminary delegation departed, Hyunji knew this was just the beginning. Humanity had spent millennia preparing for threats from the stars, developing military might that had left their first visitors in awe. Yet it was not their weapons that would determine the success of this historic meeting, but their ability to build bridges across the vast differences between them. The UEDS Indomitable floated majestically against the backdrop of stars, its kilometer-long hull gleaming under Earth's distant sun. As Earth's flagship carrier, it represented the pinnacle of human military engineering, housing over 5,000 crew members and enough firepower to level a small continent. Captain Taho adjusted his dress uniform as he waited at the docking bay. At 38, he had already served 15 years in the United Earth Defense Fleet, rising quickly through the ranks thanks to his tactical brilliance and steady leadership. Today's assignment, showing alien visitors around humanity's most advanced warship, filled him with pride. "Remember," Admiral Hyunji had told him during the briefing, "this tour is both diplomatic and strategic. Show them enough to earn respect, but not everything we can do." The airlock cycled open, revealing 5 luminary delegates. Their crystalline forms caught the artificial light, sending rainbow reflections dancing across the metal walls. Lux, their ambassador, stepped forward first, towering over the human welcoming party. "Welcome aboard the Indomitable," Taho said with a formal bow. "I'm Captain Taho, and I'll be your guide today." The luminary didn't speak aloud but responded with telepathic communication that felt like gentle whispers in Tai-Ho's mind. "We appreciate this opportunity, Captain," came Lux's thought voice. "Our people are curious about human vessels." What Tai-Ho didn't realize was that each luminary present maintained a continuous telepathic link with their main ship. Every observation, every reaction, every piece of information was instantly shared with hundreds of their kind waiting in their vessel. The tour began in relatively neutral territory, the ship's hydroponics bay, where fresh food was grown for the crew. The luminary showed polite interest, their crystal bodies glowing with soft blue light that indicated curiosity. "Our journey through space requires self-sufficiency," Tai-Ho explained. "We can sustain the crew for years without resupply if necessary." "Years of isolation by design," observed one luminary named Gleam. "Your species plans extensively for survival in hostile conditions." Tai-Ho nodded, not recognizing the subtle concern in the alien's mental tone. "It's fundamental to our approach to space. We hope for the best but prepare for the worst." As they moved deeper into the ship, Tai-Ho guided them toward areas that showcased human engineering prowess. In the engine room, Chief Engineer Min-Soo explained the fusion drives that powered the massive vessel. "The same technology that drives our ships also powers our cities," Min-Soo said proudly. "Efficient energy production is critical to our civilization." The luminary absorbed this information with apparent fascination, though their crystalline bodies dimmed slightly when Min-Soo casually mentioned that the technology had evolved from weapons research. Next came the medical bay, where Dr. Jai-Yun demonstrated advanced healing technologies. "We can treat almost any injury or illness aboard," she explained, showing them regeneration tanks and surgical robots. "Your healing capabilities are impressive," Lux communicated, brightening slightly. "This we understand well." The mood shifted dramatically when Tai-Ho led them to the defensive systems section. Massive screens displayed the ship's protective envelope, layers of energy shields, point defense weapons, and countermeasure systems. "This section houses our point defense laser array," Tai-Ho explained casually, gesturing toward rows of targeting computers and power conduits, capable of tracking and eliminating hundreds of targets simultaneously. Lux's crystalline form trembled visibly, light patterns racing across their surface in what humans would later learn indicated distress. The telepathic link carried not just Lux's thoughts but emotional impressions, waves of shock rippling back to the luminary vessel. "All these systems, they exist solely to destroy?" asked Gleam, their mental voice carrying undertones of disbelief. "To protect," Tai-Ho corrected, not fully grasping their reaction. "Space contains unknown dangers. We must be prepared." The other luminary delegates huddled closer together, their forms pulsing with rapid color changes as they communicated privately among themselves. To Tai-Ho, their reaction seemed extreme. These were standard systems on any military vessel, nothing exotic or particularly aggressive. "Perhaps a demonstration would help you understand their precision and control," Tai-Ho offered, misinterpreting their concern as confusion. Before the luminary could object, Tai-Ho led them to an observation deck overlooking the ship's starboard training range. With a few commands into his tablet, he activated a training exercise that had been scheduled for later that day. "Launch target drones," he ordered over the comm. Outside the reinforced viewport, small metallic spheres shot out from the carrier's launch tubes, quickly forming attack patterns in the vacuum of space. "These drones simulate enemy missiles or small craft," Tai-Ho explained with professional pride. "Watch how our systems respond." With terrifying efficiency, the Indomitable's rail guns tracked and fired. Hypersonic projectiles streaked through space, reducing drone after drone to expanding clouds of debris. The point defense lasers engaged next, invisible beams slicing through targets with perfect precision. 98% neutralization in under 12 seconds, Tai-Ho noted with satisfaction. "And that's just our passive defensive systems." When he turned to gauge the luminary reaction, he was startled to see two delegates physically recoiling. their crystalline bodies flashing rapid pulses of deep red. One had pressed itself against the far wall, as far from the viewport as possible. Lux's mental voice, when it came, carried unmistakable distress. "Captain, we have never witnessed such efficient destruction." Taiho blinked in confusion. "These are just defensive countermeasures, standard protection for any fleet vessel. Your species has weaponized fundamental physics principles with casual efficiency," another luminary named Prism communicated, their form darkened to nearly black. The energy output directed solely toward destruction. The telepathic link to the luminary ship vibrated with alarm. Thousands of crystalline beings experienced secondhand the demonstration of human military might. In their evolutionary history, having never faced predators or resource competition, they had never developed technologies specifically designed to destroy. The concept itself was alien and deeply disturbing. Sensing the diplomatic situation deteriorating, Lieutenant Subin, the diplomatic officer assigned to the tour, stepped forward. "Captain, perhaps we should proceed to the cultural exchange area. The art exhibition from Earth's children might be of interest." Taiho nodded, belatedly recognizing his miscalculation. "Of course. My apologies if the demonstration was unsettling. These systems represent our commitment to protecting our people, not aggressive intent." As they moved away from the weapons systems, Lux made a visible effort to compose themselves. "We understand protection, Captain. But in our civilization, we protect through harmony and communication. The concept of developing technology solely to destroy, it is difficult for us to comprehend." The tour continued through less militaristic sections of the ship, recreation areas, the ship's library, and finally the promised art exhibition. Slowly, the luminary delegates recovered their composure, their crystalline bodies returning to softer hues. Yet the damage was done. Through their telepathic network, the entire luminary fleet now viewed humans as potentially dangerous beings who had evolved in ways fundamentally different from their own peaceful development. The casual way Taiho had demonstrated weapons of mass destruction, as if they were no more remarkable than kitchen appliances, had revealed a psychological gulf between their species. As they completed the tour, Lux approached Taiho privately. "Captain, I sense you did not intend to cause distress. But you must understand, we have never encountered a species that dedicates such resources to technologies of destruction." Taiho considered this thoughtfully. "And we've never met beings who evolved without the need to defend themselves. Perhaps we have much to learn from each other." Lux's crystalline form brightened slightly. "Indeed. That is the purpose of first contact." As the luminary delegation prepared to return to their vessel, none of the humans realized that an emergency council was already being convened aboard the alien ship, a council debating whether humanity represented a fundamental threat to the peace of the galaxy. Senior diplomat Jisoo paced nervously in her office aboard the orbital diplomatic station. Reports from Captain Taiho's military tour had been concerning. The luminary delegates had reacted with visible distress to standard weapons demonstrations. As Earth's most experienced xenodiplomat, Jisoo knew she needed to redirect this first contact toward more positive cultural exchange. "We need to show them who we really are," she told her assistant, Minho. "Not just our defensive capabilities, but our achievements in science, art, and peaceful technology." Minho nodded as he arranged display panels for the upcoming presentation. "The Cultural Heritage Exhibition is ready. We've selected artistic masterpieces spanning 5,000 years of human creativity." Jisoo smoothed her formal diplomatic uniform and checked her appearance one last time. At 49, she had represented Earth in negotiations with colonial governments throughout the solar system, but never with an alien species. Her entire career had prepared her for this moment. The luminary delegation arrived precisely on schedule. 5 crystalline beings glided into the conference room, their faceted bodies casting prismatic light patterns across the walls. Jisoo immediately noticed their subdued coloration, a sign she now understood indicated caution or concern. "Welcome, honored guests," Jisoo said with a formal bow. I am Senior Diplomat Jisoo. Today I hope to share with you the achievements of human civilization beyond our military technology. Lux, the lead luminary, brightened slightly. We appreciate this opportunity. Our observations so far have raised questions about human development patterns. Jisoo smiled warmly. Context is important for understanding any species. Let me show you our journey from primitive beginnings to our current global civilization. The lights dimmed, and the first images appeared on the surrounding screens. Early human cave paintings, ancient tools, the first written languages. The luminary watched with apparent fascination, their bodies glowing with soft blue light. Unlike your species, we evolved as tribal hunter-gatherers, Jisoo explained. Competition for resources shaped our early development. The presentation continued through major human achievements: the wheel, agriculture, early cities. The luminary seemed especially interested in architectural achievements like the pyramids and medieval cathedrals. These structures required remarkable cooperation, observed a luminary named Gleam. Yet they coexisted with weapons development. Jisoo nodded. Throughout our history, humans have created both beauty and tools for survival. Sometimes these purposes intertwined. She advanced the presentation to the Industrial Revolution, showing early steam engines and factories. This period transformed how humans lived and worked. Energy production became centralized, allowing for mass manufacturing. Your technological progression accelerated rapidly, noted Lux. What drove this sudden advance? Jisoo hesitated briefly. Well, competition between nations played a significant role. Many technologies were developed to gain advantages in resource acquisition, or territorial disputes. The images shifted to the 20th century, showing the rapid advancement of technology. Jisoo carefully selected images of medical breakthroughs, transportation developments, and communication systems. The last few centuries saw unprecedented progress in human capability, she said proudly. We conquered diseases that once decimated our population, connected our world with instant communication, and eventually reached beyond our planet. She paused at an image of a modern nuclear power plant, its cooling towers releasing white steam against a blue sky. This technology originated from our Manhattan Project during our Second World War, explained Jisoo, her voice carrying a note of pride. We've since adapted it for peaceful energy production. The reaction was immediate. The luminaries' crystalline bodies darkened dramatically, and rapid pulses of crimson light flashed across their surfaces. Through their telepathic link, waves of horror rippled back to their main vessel. You developed nuclear fission as a weapon? Asked a luminary historian named Prism, their mental voice carrying clear distress. Jisoo blinked, surprised by their reaction. Initially, yes, it was created during a global conflict. But afterward, we harnessed the technology for peaceful power generation that helps billions of people. The luminary conferred among themselves in rapid telepathic exchanges. Jisoo waited uncomfortably, suddenly aware that what humans considered a triumph of scientific ingenuity, turning a weapon into a power source, the luminary viewed very differently. Hoping to move past the awkward moment, Jisoo advanced to images of early space exploration. This was perhaps our greatest achievement, reaching beyond our world to explore the solar system. The screen displayed early rockets launching from Earth's surface. With genuine enthusiasm, Jisoo described the space race of the 20th century. The technology that allowed us to reach orbit evolved from missile systems, she explained. Competing nations developed rockets initially for military purposes, but visionary scientists redirected these efforts toward exploration. Lux's crystalline form seemed to freeze entirely. Your species developed space travel as an extension of weapons delivery systems. The disbelief in the alien's mental voice was unmistakable. Jisoo faltered, suddenly seeing human history through alien eyes. Well, yes, she admitted, but the purpose changed completely. What began as competition became cooperation. The International Space Station was built by former enemies working together. The luminary historian, Prism moved closer to the displays, studying the progression of technologies with growing concern. Diplomat Jisoo, I've been analyzing the patterns in your historical record, Prism communicated. Your aircraft developed from war machines, your satellite network from military surveillance, your internet from defense communication systems, your medical advances from treating battlefield injuries. Am I interpreting this correctly? Jisoo shifted uncomfortably. Those connections exist, yes, but that's not the complete story. Military needs often provided funding and urgency, but human ingenuity always expanded these technologies for peaceful purposes. Another luminary named Spark joined the conversation. In our evolutionary history, technological advancement came from needs like food production, health maintenance, and artistic expression. We developed faster than light travel to explore and learn, not to gain tactical advantages. The fundamental difference in developmental paths became increasingly clear to everyone in the room. The luminary had evolved without significant predators or resource competition. Their technology developed purely from curiosity and need for improvement, never from conflict. Jisoo made a desperate attempt to bridge the growing gap in understanding. Please, let me show you how these technologies serve peaceful purposes today. She quickly advanced to images of modern Earth, clean cities powered by fusion energy, advanced medical facilities, vast hydroponic farms feeding billions, orbital habitats where humans lived and worked in space. This is who we are now, Jisoo insisted. Yes, our path was shaped by conflict, but we've grown beyond those roots. Lux, study the images thoughtfully. Your species learned to create through destruction. This pattern appears deeply embedded in your development. Jisoo nodded slowly. Perhaps it is, but doesn't that make our achievements more remarkable? Despite our competitive nature, we've built a unified global civilization that values peace. As the presentation concluded, Jisoo sensed the diplomatic situation had grown more complicated rather than improved. The history lesson had revealed a pattern the luminary found disturbing. Nearly every major technological breakthrough in human history had some connection to warfare or defense. Yet in the luminary's thoughtful silence, Jisoo also sensed something beyond fear, perhaps a reluctant respect for a species that had transformed tools of destruction into foundations for a thriving civilization. We still have much to learn about each other, Lux communicated finally. Your history is unlike any we have encountered in our explorations. Jisoo smiled tentatively. Different paths can lead to similar destinations. Our technologies may have different origins, but both our species reached the stars. As the luminary delegation prepared to depart, Jisoo wondered if she had made the situation better or worse. The fundamental gap in understanding seemed wider than ever, yet the conversation had at least been honest. What neither Jisoo nor the luminary realized was how soon this philosophical difference would be tested by a very real threat approaching from the outer reaches of the solar system. Flare was the youngest member of the luminary diplomatic team, barely 200 years old, practically a child by their standards. Unlike the senior diplomats who maintained careful emotional control, Flare's crystalline form often pulsed with bright colors that revealed their every thought. After witnessing the weapons demonstration and learning about humanity's war-driven technological development, Flare could no longer contain their mounting fear. While the senior diplomats slept in their regeneration chambers aboard the Earth orbital station, Flare accessed the quantum communication array. Their crystalline appendages trembled as they initiated contact with the luminary homeworld, 80 light-years distant, but instantly reachable through quantum entanglement. Emergency priority message, Flare transmitted telepathically. First contact assessment. Extreme danger. The humans are dangerously militaristic predators. Flare transmitted a compressed burst of memories. The rail gun demonstration, the casual explanation of nuclear weapons, the countless technologies born from warfare. Without the context and nuance the senior diplomats had begun to develop, these raw impressions painted a frightening picture. Their entire civilization is built on weapons development. Flare continued urgently. Their ships bristle with destruction technologies beyond anything in our records. They speak of peace while demonstrating planet-killing capabilities. Recommend immediate withdrawal and quarantine of this system. On the Luminary homeworld, the High Council received this alarming report with growing concern. Within hours, they dispatched a defensive fleet, something unprecedented in their peaceful history. Admiral Hyunji was awakened at 300 hours by an urgent call from the sensor officer on duty. "Admiral, we're detecting multiple spatial distortions at the edge of the system," reported Lieutenant Sunmai, her voice tight with tension. Energy signatures matched the Luminary vessel, but much larger. "At least 12 ships, Mom." Hyunji dressed quickly, her mind racing. "Alert status, but no aggressive posture. I want all weapons cold. Get me Senior Diplomat Ji-soo and the Luminary Ambassador immediately." By the time Hyunji reached the command center, the situation had deteriorated further. The Luminary ships had formed a defensive formation and were moving toward Earth at significant speed. Ambassador Lux arrived looking unusually dim, their crystalline form almost translucent with distress. "Admiral, I must apologize. It appears a junior member of our delegation has sent an unauthorized report to our homeworld." "What kind of report?" Hyunji asked, although she could guess the answer. "A highly alarming one," Lux admitted, "characterizing humans as dangerous predators who cannot be trusted." Ji-soo had joined them by now, her face pale with worry. "That's a complete mischaracterization. We've been nothing but transparent." Hyunji raised a hand to quiet her. Transparency about our military capabilities clearly frightened them. "We need to show them something else." She turned to Lux. "Ambassador, I propose an immediate observation mission. Let your leadership see Earth directly, not just our warships." Lux's form brightened slightly. "That might help, but they are deeply concerned." "Then we have no time to waste," Hyunji said firmly. Within hours, a diplomatic shuttle was prepared. The approaching Luminary fleet had slowed its advance, but maintained a defensive posture. After tense negotiations via quantum communication, 3 members of the Luminary High Council agreed to board the shuttle, along with Lux and the original diplomatic team. Hyunji personally piloted the shuttle, bringing it into low Earth orbit as dawn broke over the Pacific Ocean. "What you see below is not a military base or weapons facility," she explained as the blue-green planet filled the viewports. "It's simply our home." The shuttle's external cameras zoomed in on various locations as they orbited. First came the sprawling parks of New Seoul, where thousands of people enjoyed a weekend festival. Children flew colorful kites shaped like animals, families shared meals on blankets, and musicians performed on outdoor stages. "These gatherings happen constantly around our world," Ji-soo explained to the Luminary Council members. "Recreation, art, family, these are central to human life." Next, they observed the floating hospitals of the Mediterranean, where international medical teams treated patients from regions still recovering from climate disasters. The massive white ships were marked with the universal healthcare symbol, their decks filled with healing gardens and rehabilitation centers. 20% of our global budget goes to healthcare and medical research, Ji-soo noted, more than our defense spending. One of the council members, an ancient luminary named Elder Nova, spoke for the first time. "Yet your medical techniques evolved from treating more injuries." "Yes," Hyunji acknowledged honestly. "But look at what that knowledge has become." The shuttle continued its journey, showing the vast solar collection fields of the Sahara, the underwater research habitats of the Indian Ocean, the flying universities of the Amazon, where students from around the world studied ecology in the rainforest canopy. As they passed over Asia, they witnessed the great reforestation. Once barren mountains now covered with young trees planted by generations of schoolchildren as part of their education. "Every human child spends 1 month each year planting trees," Ji-soo explained. "It teaches stewardship of our world." The Luminary Council members conferred among themselves, their crystalline forms shifting through various colors as they shared thoughts too complex for human understanding. Finally, Hyunji directed the shuttle toward a special destination, the International Children's Peace Center in the Himalayas. Built after the last global conflict 50 years earlier, it housed orphans from former war zones, now living and learning together regardless of their ancestors' conflicts. "This is perhaps what defines us best," Hyunji said quietly. "Not our weapons, but what we build after using them." As the shuttle hovered above the center, they could see children from around the world playing in the snow, building sculptures, studying in outdoor classrooms despite the cold, their laughter inaudible, but their joy evident. "We are warriors," Hyunji admitted, turning to face the luminary directly. "But that's not all we are. Our capacity for violence is matched by our capacity for compassion." Elder Nova moved closer to the viewport, their ancient crystalline form glowing with a gentle blue light. "I begin to understand. Your species developed differently from ours. What appeared to us as bloodthirst is actually adaptation." "Exactly," Jisoo said with evident relief. "We evolved on a planet with predators, limited resources, and harsh conditions. Competition and conflict shaped us, but cooperation and compassion allowed us to build civilization." The youngest council member, still glowing with cautious orange light, asked, "Then why maintain such powerful weapons if you value peace?" Hyunji considered the question carefully. "Because we know ourselves. Our history shows both our greatest achievements and our darkest moments. The weapons exist as much to prevent conflict as to wage it." As the Earth completed another rotation beneath them, the luminary began to see humanity with new understanding. What had appeared as an inherently aggressive species now revealed itself as something more complex, beings shaped by harsh evolution who had nevertheless built a civilization dedicated increasingly to peace and cooperation. "Your junior diplomat wasn't entirely wrong," Hyunji acknowledged as they prepared to return to the orbital station. "We are dangerous when threatened, but danger and aggression aren't the same thing." The luminary fleet remained at the edge of the solar system, but their posture had shifted from defensive to observational. The immediate crisis had passed, but both species knew that true understanding would require more than a single day's observations. As they docked with the station, Elder Nova approached Hyunji privately. "Admiral, I have lived 900 years and visited 17 inhabited worlds. Never have I encountered a species with such contradictions, creators who learn to create through destruction, warriors who value peace, beings capable of both terrible violence and profound compassion." Hyunji smiled slightly. "We contain multitudes, Elder Nova. That is both our greatest strength and our greatest challenge." The Elder Luminary's form glowed with a new color, a deep purple that humans would later learn indicated profound respect. "Perhaps," Nova communicated, "that is precisely why our paths have crossed at this moment in the galaxy's history." Neither of them yet realized how prophetic those words would prove to be. 3 weeks had passed since the luminary's arrival. Formal negotiations were underway in Earth's orbital diplomatic center, a neutral space where both species could meet comfortably. Admiral Hyunji sat across from Elder Nova and Ambassador Lux, reviewing proposed terms for scientific and cultural exchange. "Your medical technology would significantly benefit our outer colonies," Hyunji noted, studying a holographic display of luminary cellular regeneration techniques. "And your agricultural methods could help us terraform worlds previously considered uninhabitable," Lux replied. The atmosphere had grown considerably warmer since the initial misunderstandings. While caution remained on both sides, genuine curiosity and respect had begun to flourish. Humans were fascinated by luminary telepathic abilities and crystalline biology, while the aliens showed particular interest in human art and music, concepts their species understood quite differently. A junior officer suddenly entered the conference room, her face tight with urgency. "Admiral, priority communication from Deep Space Monitoring Station 7. Hyunji excused herself and stepped into the adjacent communications room. Lieutenant Minky's face appeared on the screen, his expression grave. Admiral, our long-range sensors have detected an unusual fleet approaching the Arcturus sector. The energy signatures match nothing in our database. Send the data to my terminal, Hyunji ordered. When the information appeared before her, Hyunji immediately noted something strange. The approaching vessels, at least 30 of them, showed massive energy readings but no communication signals. They moved with perfect coordination at incredible speed. When she returned to the conference room, she found the luminary delegates huddled together, their crystalline forms pulsing with alarming red patterns. Lux's normally melodic thought voice felt jagged with distress. "You've detected them too," Lux said. It wasn't a question. "Who are they?" Hyunji asked directly. Elder Nova moved forward, their ancient form darkening to a deep violet. "We call them the Harvesters. They are cybernetic entities that seek organic materials to consume and convert." "Consume? You mean they're predators?" Jisoo asked. "Worse," Lux replied. "They consume entire worlds, all organic matter, from plants to sentient beings. They convert everything into more of themselves." Hyunji studied the sensor data more carefully. According to these readings, they're heading toward Arcturus IV. Is that significant? The luminary delegates exchanged rapid telepathic communications before Lux answered. "It is our largest colony outside our home system. 8 million of our people live there." "You've encountered these harvesters before?" Jisoo asked. Elder Nova's form dimmed further. "For generations, they've pursued us across 17 star systems. Each time, we detect them approaching, evacuate as many as possible, and flee." "You don't fight back?" Hyunji asked, unable to keep the surprise from her voice. "Our philosophy of nonviolence prevents us from developing weapons," Lux explained grimly. "We have extraordinary shields and stealth technologies to hide and protect ourselves, but no offensive capabilities." "How much time before they reach your colony?" "Approximately 12 Earth days at their current speed." Hyunji stood straighter, her decision already made. "That's enough time for us to deploy a defense fleet." The conference room went silent. The luminary delegates stared at her, their crystalline forms frozen in surprise. "You would defend our colony?" Lux asked finally. "Of course," Hyunji replied simply. "That's what allies do." "But you have no obligation to us," Elder Nova protested. "We've barely established formal relations." Hyunji smiled slightly. "Humanity has fought many wars, Elder Nova. Some necessary, many tragic. But if there's one thing we've learned from our violent history, it's the importance of standing together against genuine threats." Within hours, Earth's Security Council had approved the mission. The Indomitable and 5 other heavy carriers departed with full battle groups. Over 70 warships in total, carrying the most advanced weapons humanity had developed. Captain Tahoe stood on the bridge of the Indomitable as it prepared for faster-than-light jump. Beside him, Ambassador Lux served as liaison to the luminary colony. "Your people truly commit to this freely?" Lux asked, still seeming bewildered by humanity's response. "Defending others against extinction." "Absolutely," Tahoe replied. "Besides, if these harvesters consume worlds, they'd eventually reach Earth anyway. Better to face them now, together." The human fleet arrived at Arcturus IV 3 days later. The beautiful crystalline cities of the luminary colony sparkled across the planet's surface, home to millions who had never known war. Evacuation ships were already departing, but most of the population remained. Admiral Hyunji established a defensive perimeter around the planet, incorporating luminary shield technology with human weapon systems, a combination neither species could have created alone. When the Harvester fleet arrived, they encountered something entirely new: organized resistance. The cybernetic vessels, resembling massive metal insects with glowing red cores, approached with perfect formation and absolute confidence. They had never failed to consume a world before. "All ships, defensive positions," Hyunji ordered from the command center. Hold fire until they cross the outer marker. The first shots were fired when the lead harvester vessel attempted to break through the defensive line. Rail guns and energy weapons struck with devastating precision, tearing through the metallic hull and exposing the technology beneath. The harvesters seemed momentarily confused, as if the concept of resistance was foreign to their programming. Then they adapted, breaking formation to attack from multiple vectors. The battle that followed lasted 3 days. Human warships fought with a combination of tactical brilliance and raw determination, while luminary vessels provided unprecedented shielding and sensor support. When harvester ships penetrated the defensive line, ground-based weapons, hastily installed by human engineers, drove them back. On the third day, after losing nearly half their number, the remaining harvesters did something they had never done before. They retreated. The aftermath brought both species together in ways neither could have imagined. Luminary crystal healers worked alongside human medics to treat the injured. Engineers from both worlds examined the destroyed harvester vessels, learning their weaknesses for future encounters. 1 month later, the formal alliance was signed aboard the Indomitable. Elder Nova pressed a crystalline appendage against a document reader, while Admiral Hyunji signed with traditional ink. "What you initially feared in us has become your salvation," Hyunji observed as the ceremony concluded. Elder Nova's form glowed with the deep purple of respect. "We feared your violence without understanding its purpose. We saw only the sword, not the shield it forms when raised in defense of others. And we gained much from you," Hyunji replied. "Your peaceful technologies have already helped us solve problems we've struggled with for centuries." The alliance quickly expanded beyond the two species. Other civilizations, learning of the successful defense against the harvesters, sought membership in what became known as the Galactic Concordat. Within 5 years, 17 species had joined, some providing unique technologies, others cultural and philosophical insights, but none offering what humanity brought: the willingness and ability to fight when necessary. 10 years after first contact, Admiral Hyunji, now Supreme Commander of the Concordat Defense Fleet, stood with Ambassador Lux on the observation deck of Harmony Station. Below them, Earth gleamed blue and green, while ships from a dozen worlds moved through nearby space. "My people once sent a distress call about yours," Lux noted with amusement, warning that humans were dangerous predators who couldn't be trusted. Hyunji smiled. "They weren't entirely wrong. We are dangerous when threatened." "The difference," Lux replied, their crystalline form glowing with warm golden light, "is understanding who and what you threaten." Together, they watched as a new class of vessel departed Earth's orbital shipyards, sleek ships bearing both human and luminary design elements. They carried the most powerful weapons humanity had ever created, alongside the most advanced peace-maintaining technologies the luminary had developed. Their hulls bore the emblem of the Concordat, a shield protecting a diverse array of stars. What had begun in fear and misunderstanding had evolved into something neither species could have achieved alone, a force that protected the peaceful while standing ready against any threat. At the naming ceremony for the new flagship, Elder Nova had spoken words that now appeared on every Concordat vessel. "From different paths we came, some through peace, some through struggle, but together we walk toward a future where both wisdom and strength protect all."